Hi everyone, I am Komala, working as Assistant Professor in the Department of Cybersecurity at MITS. In today's lecture, I would like to teach how to generate patterns using Java. So, pattern programs are very important and they are considered as very important applications for iterative statements and logic building. So those who teach iterative statements to beginners, they will definitely consider pattern programs as a good example. Okay, and these are also important from the placement preparation point of view. Okay, so I would like to divide these pattern programs into three modules. The first modules works at basic level, second module at intermediate level, and third module at advanced level. So, in today's lecture, I would like to consider pattern generation at beginner level or basic level. I am going to consider 10 patterns that cover star pattern, number pattern, and character pattern. So, let us proceed with the patterns. I am considering one online Java compiler for the sake of convenience. And here in comments, I am going to write the patterns that I am going to consider. Pattern 1 is generating stars for certain number of rows. Okay, this is pattern 1. And pattern 2, so let me work with this pattern 1 first. So this is a multi-line comment in Java. So if you observe how many stars are here, so there are five stars in each row. That means there are 5 rows and 5 columns. Whenever we need to generate something, some data or some pattern in two-dimensional manner, we must consider nested for loop. Okay. So here I am going to write this logic in the form of a function. Then let us invoke that function through main. So I am considering the function name as public static void pattern 1. It does not take any arguments and also does not return any value. Now let us focus on the logic. Here we need to generate 5 rows of stars and 5 columns. In each row, 5 columns of stars. Always remember, uh, rows means outer for loop, columns means inner for loop. So for example, if I take I as the loop variable for outer for loop and j as the loop variable for inner for loop, I always tracks the rows and j always tracks the columns. So let me consider this. For int I equal to 1, I less than or equal to 5, as I am already uh, familiar that there are 5 rows and 5 columns, I am giving 5 here. Suppose if the rows and columns are dynamic in nature, then you must mention some variable here. Instead of 5, you can mention variable here. Okay. Then I am taking inner for loop, that is j loop. It starts from 1 and ends at 5. Okay. Now, what is to be printed? Stars are to be printed. How to print? System dot out dot print. I am not considering print ln. Why? Because if I consider print ln, for every star, it will go to next line and print one line, one star per one line. Okay. I don't want to make that happen. So that's why I am considering system dot out dot print. Then print star. Then I need to give, if I need to give some space, I can mention it here or I can ignore it. It is up to us. Or it is as per the expected output. Now that J loop is over, I loop is over. One important thing we have to observe here is um, 5 stars are to be printed adjacent to each other And after 5 stars are printed, the cursor should move to new line. So to make that happen, after J loop, I will be printing one dummy print statement. I will mention one dummy print statement just to move the cursor to the new line. That's all. Okay. Now this is over. I have considered inner for loop, that is J, outer for loop I, and the pattern will be printed, and this is done. This function is done. Now let me invoke this function through main. As this is a static function, I can just call this function by its name. No need to refer through an object. Okay, I am calling this function pattern 1. Now let me run this code and let us see the output. There is one error. What is that error? Okay, I think I am not properly closing it. Let me consider this. So there is one extra closing bracket here. I have rectified the error. Now let us run this again. Yes, 5 stars in each row. Like likewise, 5 rows are printed. This is the pattern. Suppose if you want to eliminate this additional space, you can remove this. Then run this again. Yes, all these are printed. So this is the expected pattern. This is one simple kind of pattern. What we need to observe here is how many rows are there? 5 rows. How many columns are there? 5 columns. What is to be printed in each column? Star. So I tracks the number of rows and J tracks columns. That is one important thing we must observe here. Okay. Now let us proceed with another pattern. Let me consider second pattern as number pattern. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. How many rows are considered here? 4 rows. Let me consider one more row if we want. Okay, let it be 4. There are 4 rows. How many columns are there? 5 columns. In each column, what is getting printed? The column number is getting printed. That is one important observation we must make. Column number is getting printed in each column. So now let me take the same function. Instead of typing a new function, let me have the same function. I will rename this as pattern 2. And instead of star, what is to be printed? How many number of rows first of all? 4 rows. Let me change this 5 to 4. How many columns are there? 5. Now what is to be printed here? This is the column number is to be printed. Column number in the sense J is to be printed. As there are spaces in between the numbers, let me add some space also. That's all. Now from main, let me call this function pattern 2. Okay. Now let us run this code. Yes. What is printed? 4 rows and 5 columns. This is a number pattern. This is also a simple pattern. Okay. Next one. Let me consider another pattern. Pattern 3. Let me consider a left justified right angle triangle of stars. Okay, I am going to consider 5 rows here. Yes, carefully observe. In first row, 1 star is to be printed. In second row, 2 stars. Third row, 3 stars. Fourth row, 4 stars. And fifth row, 5 stars are to be printed. And there is also a space given between the stars. Okay. How to generate this one? If you observe, first row means 1 star. That means the number of stars to be printed is depending on row number. Then second row, 2 stars. Third row, 3 stars. Fourth row, 4 stars. Fifth row, 5 stars. So it is clearly evident that the number of stars to be printed in each row depend on row number. Okay. Let us write a function for this. Let me consider pattern 3. And how many rows? 5 rows. How many columns? That depends on what? Row number. Let me consider this as I. What is I? I represents row. Okay. And what is to be printed actually? That is nothing but star. Got it? And as usual, after inner loop, we must print one dummy println statement to generate one, or to move the cursor to the new line. Okay. So let us run this code. Pattern 3. I am invoking pattern 3. Let me run this one. Yes, very good. So this is the pattern printed. Is it difficult? You tell me. It is not at all. Just we need to make keen observation. Okay. So one row, 1 star. Two rows, 2 stars. Third row, 3 stars. Fourth row, 4 stars, like that. Very simple. Next, let me consider another pattern. Pattern 4. Let me do the same thing as I did with stars in pattern 3 with numbers 1, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yes, I am considering 5 rows here. Just for the sake of convenience, I am considering 5 rows and all. So it is up to you to consider any number of rows or any number of columns. Okay. Now, let me write code for this. Let me name this function as pattern 4. And how many number of rows? 5 rows. I need not change this I loop. This I variable. Then how many columns? That depends on I value. No need to change here also. Then what is to be printed? Instead of star, what is to be printed? J is to be printed. That's all. Okay. Now let me invoke this function from main. Pattern 4. Let me run this code. So taking a little longer. Yes, good. So 1, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. So this is the pattern that is to be generated and we have successfully done that. Okay. Next one. Pattern 5. Pattern 5. Let me consider the pattern like this. In first row 1, second row only 2's and the number of 2's are also 2. Third row only 3's. Number of 3's are 3. Fourth row only 4's. Number of 4's are 4. Fifth row only 5's. Yes, like this. Okay. You observe this pattern. How many rows are there? How many rows are there? 5 rows. How many columns are there? The number of columns depend on the row number. And what is getting printed actually in each column? That depends on the row, not column. Okay. Now let us write code for this one. Pattern 5. How many rows? 5 rows. No need to change this one. And how many columns? That depends on the row number. Row number, that is also not to be changed. And what is to be printed here? Instead of J, I will print I. Why? Because in first row 1, second row 2, third row 3, fourth row 4, fifth row 5. These are getting printed, and what is getting printed is directly nothing but I value. Okay, so let me invoke this function pattern 5. Let us run this one. Yes, 1 2 2 3 3 3 4 4 4 4 and 5 number of fives. So this is the one actually printed. Okay, next one. Let me consider pattern 6. So we have worked with the star pattern, number pattern, and then let me consider character pattern. Let us consider pattern 6 as A in first row, A, B in second row, A, B, C in third row, A, B, C, D in fourth row, A, B, C, D, E in fifth row. Here also I am considering only 5 rows. And what is getting printed in first row? A only. Second row AB. Third row ABC. Fourth row ABCD. Fifth row ABCDE. Now how to generate this pattern? Let me name this function as pattern 6. How many rows? 5 rows. No need to change this I variable. And how many columns? That depends on the row number. Here also no need to change. And what we need to focus is what is to be printed. Here we need to consider the ASCII value of capital A. When some character is to be printed with the help of an integer, it is better to consider its ASCII value. So capital A's ASCII value is 65. Now I am going to take that help and then generate A, AB, ABC, etc. Then, how to convert an integer into character while displaying. So for that, I can use char function, that typecasting function in Java. So let us see how it can be printed. Char, this is going to be the typecasting function I am going to use. Char 65 plus what? J minus 1. Why? Because 65 is exactly A. If I add 65 plus J is starting at 1. If I add J, it will be like it will start with B. I don't want that to happen. That's why I am considering 65 plus J minus 1. Okay. Now, let me invoke this pattern 6 from main. Let me run this code. Yes, exactly. This is what we have to print and it is done. Capital A, capital AB, capital ABC, ABCD, ABCDE in last row. Okay. So I hope you understood this. Next, let me consider some inverted patterns. Pattern 7. Inverted patterns. Inverted patterns are nothing but in previous cases we started with 1 star in first row, 2 stars in second row, 3 stars in fourth row, likewise. Now let me consider in in reverse way. So 5 stars in first row, 4 stars in second row, 3 stars in third row, 2 stars in fourth row, and 1 star in fifth row. This is an inverted pattern. Okay, this is comment actually. Yeah. So inverted pattern. How to generate this? Again here, if you observe, the number of rows are 5 only, and what is getting printed in each row. So in first row, how many stars are getting printed? 5 stars. In second row, 4 stars. So what is happening here? So 5 minus 1, if you take, that will be 4. So let me consider 6 minus 1. So let us write code for this one. It is also easy only. How many rows? There is no change in this one. I varies from 1 to 5. Okay. Next, J. J varies from 1 to what? Let me consider this as 6 minus I. Why I am considering 6 minus I? I starts at 1. When I is 1, 6 minus 1 means 5. So it generates 5 columns. And what is to be printed in each column? That is star. Okay. Then, as usual, one new line, the cursor will go to new line after every row and it will be printed. So what is important observation here? What is to be printed are how the columns are varying. So it starts from 1 and it goes up to 6 minus I. Suppose if I is 2, j will be taken from 1 to 6 minus 2, that is 4. 4 times it will be repeated. Okay, so it should generate exact output. Let us check. Let us run this code. Yes, exactly. Suppose if you don't want those extra spaces, remove this one, run it again. Yes, exactly. This is the inverted pattern. Okay, next. Similarly, let me consider inverted pattern for numbers. Pattern 8. So let me consider 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in first row, 1, 2, 3, 4 in second row, 1, 2, 3 in third row, 1, 2 in fourth row, and only 1 in fifth row. So this is inverted pattern, inverted number pattern. How to generate this one? Okay, so just as we proceeded with the stars already, let us make some minor changes to this one. Let me call this as pattern 8. Number of rows is same, that is 5 rows. And what is to be printed in place of star? What is to be printed? It is j value, obviously. And if you want to leave some space, give that space, just that. Now let us invoke this pattern 8 from main. Let us run this one. Yes, exactly. So it is producing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, and 1. This is pattern 8. Let us consider pattern 9. What is this pattern? Let me consider the right justified right angle triangle. It is like star in first row 1 star, second row 2 stars. You observe how it is getting arranged. Right justified. Right justified in the sense spaces to the left side and the character, I mean the star is printed on the right side. You carefully observe this pattern. Right justified right angle triangle. Okay, you see this pattern. Pattern 9. How many spaces are left before star in first row? 4 spaces. 4 spaces followed by star. In second row, 3 spaces followed by stars. Third row, 2 spaces followed by stars. Fourth row, 1 space followed by stars. Fifth row, no spaces at all. And what is the important thing here? We need to consider the spaces into account. Those spaces are to be generated followed by the stars. Let us call this function as pattern 9. How many number of rows? That is fixed. That is nothing but 5 rows. Now, we need to consider one extra loop. Let me call this like k loop or spaces loop. Int k equal to 1. How many spaces are to be generated in first line? In first line, 4 spaces. That means the row number decides the number of spaces. So k equal to 1. Can I consider k less than or equal to 5 minus I? 5 minus I, right? 5 minus I means when I equal to 1, how many this k goes from 1 to 4. When I equal to 2, k goes from 1 to 3. So that many number of spaces will be generated. Let me check this one. System.out.print. How many spaces are to be generated? That depends on the k value. Then, as usual, what is to be printed here? Um, j less than or equal to I star is to be printed. And if you don't want to leave space, cut down that. Pattern 9. Yes. Let us run this one. Exactly. This is what we have expected, and it is generated perfectly. Okay. So this is pattern 9. Now, let me introduce you to the interesting pattern, a pyramid of stars. Pattern 10. A pyramid of stars will be like one star in first row, two stars in second row, three stars in third row, four stars in fourth row, five stars in fifth row. Okay, this is called a pyramid of stars. So what is interesting here? It is like deciding the number of spaces to be generated in each row. We need not worry about the right hand side of the right hand side spaces of this pattern. So we need to worry about only the left side. So on the left hand side, how many spaces are to be generated? You observe in first row how many spaces are generated here. 1, 2, 3. Second row 2. Third row 1. No. Let me just come back to this one. In first row, how many spaces are generated? So 1, I am showing on screen. 1, 2, 3. 3 spaces are to be generated. 3 or 4. Okay, let me just verify this. 4, second row 3, third row 2, fourth row 1. Yes, exactly. How many spaces are to be generated in first row? 4 spaces. Second row 2 spaces. Second row 3 spaces, third row 2, and fourth row 1. And this is the pyramid of stars. So let us write code for this one. As this generating spaces is introduced in the previous pattern, it won't be difficult to understand. Now, how many number of spaces? So it depends on 5 minus I means 4. In second row, that one, okay. Yeah, yes. Now, after printing stars, one space is to be generated. I think it should work. Let me just run this one. And if anything is to be done, we will change. Pattern 9. Okay. So while calling this function from main, I didn't change this function name. This is pattern 10. Let us execute this again. Exactly. So this is the expected pattern and we have generated it successfully. Okay. So I hope you understood this pattern generation, and this is at a basic level, and I have to consider intermediate and advanced level patterns in Java. Okay. So for the sake of convenience, I have considered Java only. We can also try the same patterns in C language, Python, C sharp, etc. Okay. So kindly let me know in the comments if you require the patterns to be generated in some other programming language, I will make some effort to write code for that language also. Okay, so I hope you understood this, and thank you.